quickly shift gears to COVID vaccines. There's a lot of concern in common public that the vaccine has been rushed. Let me assure you, the normal process for a vaccine before COVID used to take anywhere between 3 to 5 years, sometimes more. But COVID was unprecedented. There was extensive collaboration between scientists, clinicians, pharmaceutical industry, vaccine manufacturers. But it has gone through rigorously to all the phases. First of all, it has gone through the preclinical testing in mouse models. Mice have been injected. They've been challenged with virulent virus. Next, ferrets. Next, rhesus monkeys. And after there are convincing results only, it is permitted for human trial. In human trials, so I need not tell you people, your clinicians, there are 3 phases: safety, efficacy, safety, immunogenicity, and efficacy. The number of volunteers vary from 100 to a couple of hundreds and then several thousands. And all this has gone through for every vaccine that has been licensed for emergency authorization use. COVID has given a fantastic platform, opportunity for different platforms of vaccine development. The lower one left, you see as Covaxin picture. That was the traditional vaccine approach used for viral vaccines, to grow the virus, to inactivate it and use a killed vaccine, or use a live attenuated vaccine. Unfortunately or fortunately, in SARS-CoV-2, we still do not have a licensed live attenuated vaccine, but we have a killed vaccine. 2 are being used. One is our own Indian Bharat Biotech vaccine, virus isolated in NIV, which is grown, purified, inactivated, and then adjuvanted, and then being used. The other 2 technologies are absolutely new to mankind. One was using genetic material. One was, the main ones that have been licensed are RNA, messenger RNA vaccines, and these 2 are Moderna and Pfizer. India is getting its own Genova vaccine, which will be out in another 3-4 months. And since I happen to co-chair the DBT Vaccine Committee, I can tell you the results have been very, very promising. Moderna has been allowed into India. The other new vaccine for the first time used in human beings has been piggybacking SARS-CoV-2 spike protein in an innocuous virus. And people have chosen adenovirus for this. The Covishield, which is made by AstraZeneca, Oxford University, and manufactured by Serum Institute, is one example. And the other is, of course, Sputnik, which uses 2 different adenoviruses. First dose is with one adenovirus backbone, the second with another adenovirus backbone. So there are different ones, and there are ones that are holding promise very shortly to be released. One is first DNA vaccine to come out will be Zydus Cadila. It requires 3 doses. So DNA vaccines are coming into human use for the first time. The second, of course, is recombinant protein. And this protein vaccine, there are 2 examples: Novavax, which is licensed, and Novavax is coming to India through probably Serum Institute, and Biological Evans, which is making the recombinant spike protein, especially the receptor binding domain vaccine. The advantages of DNA and protein vaccines is you can have tremendous production, because in a fermenter, you can get millions of doses from a huge fermenter compared to cell culture vaccines or mRNA vaccines. So we hope that by August, the whole change we'll see. And for the first time, vaccine development has beaten all timelines. In a matter of 66 days, we had an mRNA vaccine. In 3 months, we had viral vector vaccines, and in 6 months, we are having protein vaccines. My own reading is that mRNA vaccines is up for a Nobel Prize. That's my own guess, because they perfected the technology of delivering RNA into a cell using a fantastic lipid coat which delivers 99% without any loss of RNA. I think this has huge implications for many other vaccines in future, maybe HIV, maybe other infectious diseases, more importantly for cancers. How do vaccines work? Remember, vaccination is an artificial stimulation of the immune system. You're deliberately pumping the immune system with a large amount of antigen, which does not happen in natural infection. And you're doing it in two doses. One is the priming dose, and the other is to kick the B cells and T cells and make them function better. So, this is an artificial system, but it's a time tested system. So, it results in an effective immune response, and it also results in a long lasting immune response. Unfortunately, including our own fraternity, many people have unreasonable expectations of COVID vaccine. There is no vaccine in human history that has prevented infection. It can prevent disease and it can prevent death. What more do we want from a vaccine? Why are we asking for the impossible? There are vaccines, nasal vaccines, which are promising in trials. Hopefully, if they withstand the rigor of trials, then we may get sterilizing immunity. Otherwise, remember, there is no guarantee against infection. Yes, it reduces transmission, but there is no guarantee against infection following vaccination. So it's important to follow COVID appropriate behavior. Do vaccines work? What are their efficacy? Their efficacy is a number game. Let me make it very clear to you that the efficacy of all vaccines released under emergency authorization use, be it mRNA, be it viral vectored vaccines like AstraZeneca, Sputnik, or Johnson Johnson, or killed vaccines like Coronavac, Sinopharm, or Covaxin, or recombinant protein Novavax, all of them prevent serious disease and death more than 95%. So all vaccines work. But on the right, you will see an efficiency bar. Here, what we are talking about is the number of people who got infected following vaccination. So it can vary from anywhere between 50% for Sinovac to 5% for the mRNA vaccines. So the efficiency in preventing infection following vaccination varies, but death and serious disease is prevented. Do vaccines work on the ground? One thing is a trial data, the other is to ask whether actually on the ground does it work. Look at the UK data, and this is very, very recent data. I will draw your attention to the bottom panel. You see a gray line and a red line. Now, this is a recent surge following Delta in UK, and UK has reported in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks close to 50,000 new infections, only less than 100 deaths, and 1,000 admissions. What it tells you is UK has immunized close to 60% of its population with one dose and nearly 25% with second dose. Even with one dose, severity is not there, less hospitalizations, and death is prevented. What about India? Two important cohort studies are available in India. Both are police personnel. One is from the north and in Punjab, and the other is from Chennai. NIE has done this study with one dose, 82% efficacy NIE reported in terms of serious hospitalization and death, 95% with two doses, and with one dose, Punjab has reported 92% protection against death. What more do we want from vaccines? Do vaccines work against variants? We know these are the variants. NEGM publication about 8 to 12 weeks ago shows that all vaccines work against serious disease and death. But when it comes to infection, remember the mRNA vaccines, both Moderna and Pfizer are good. But all vaccines, whatever have been released, are not so good against the South African disease. So I want you to remember that when it comes to preventing infections. But death and serious illness, all of them protect. Here is the data from UK very recently in a MedArchive publication, Alpha and Delta variant, both Pfizer and AstraZeneca are able to protect to the tune of minimum 50% after one dose for AstraZeneca and 66% for the Alpha variant. And for the mRNA vaccines with 2 doses, it is much better. In data from India for the Delta variant, and what you can see is that it does induce neutralizing antibodies and it does protect against, that is for Covishield and same for Covaxin. To equal ability, it's able to neutralize Alpha and Delta variants, to a lesser extent the South African variant. And there's also reports that Johnson protects against Delta variant, and the good news is probably Johnson is coming to India through biological Evans. What are the challenges in COVID-19 vaccinology? It's not that vaccines have been a very rosy picture. The biggest challenge has been vaccine availability. Entire globe is not able to produce all the doses India required today, which means we're talking of minimum of 200 crore doses for adults. That kind of availability is not there. So this is a challenge that we'll face for the next 3 to 6 months. Distribution of vaccines. Equity is the biggest casualty. It's nice that all of us got vaccinated. We all have access. We are special populations, healthcare workers, then elders, then 45 plus, now we say 18 plus. Everything is fine. But remember, there are people who cannot come to a vaccination center. They cannot lose their wages. And there are people in inaccessible areas. I think one of the things that we have to quickly put together solutions is how to take vaccines to people who cannot come to vaccination centers. Within a matter of few months, all those who want to take vaccines will get their vaccines because availability is increasing. But there will be 30% of people to whom we have to take the vaccine. I think we have to focus on that. Hesitancy is a big problem. Breakthrough infections are putting away people. Emergence of new variants, people think vaccines don't work. And of course, people always question on whether how long will the immunity last? Do we need boosters? This is all data evolving. India has been able to cover 35 crore, I think, as of 34 crore as of, I think, yesterday. And again, if you look at the states on the right, this is one dose, mind you. If you talk of 2 doses, we're close to 6%. And if you talk about states, different states are performed differentially. Some of the good states with good health systems, like Tamil Nadu, are figuring way down below. There's tremendous hesitancy in populations. Vaccination policy has been evolving continuously in India. First, we said healthcare workers, then we said frontline workers, then we said those above 60, those above 50, then 45, now we say 18 and above. Then, of course, we got the revised this thing saying that people who are, women who are lactating are eligible for vaccine, and very recently, India has cleared for pregnant women. So the categories are expanding. The category that is exempt as of now is children. Zydus-Covid vaccine, DNA vaccine, has already completed trials in 12 to 18 children. So that may get authorization any day now. That will be the first vaccine. Covaxin is doing trials in children between 2 to 18. Pfizer has been cleared in America and in Europe. Moderna's results are awaited, and so also AstraZeneca. My own reading is by September, we'll have vaccines for children. Anything that you inject will produce a side effect. So also the COVID vaccines, there are mild side effects to the tune of approximately 1 in 10, a slightly uncommon side effects to the tune of 1 in 100. Severe side effects are 0.05% or less. And the ones that people are concerned about is clotting and the platelet decrease in counts. And these are reported with certain adenovirus vectored vaccines. And there are, of course, uh, studies which say that one of the reasons for this is probably the faulty injection technique, but that needs to be validated by further studies. Can we mix vaccines? Common question. The answer is Government of India is now contemplating on it. They have not permitted interchangeability. Hopefully, some trials will be conducted. Germany is the first country, as a policy, has said only mixing vaccines is best. The first dose is Covishield or adenovector vaccine, and the second is mRNA shots. There are studies in UK that have shown that AstraZeneca vaccine first dose and mRNA is giving a good response. Several myths that it is rushed, that it alters your DNA, that it can give you COVID, that it contains egg protein, that it causes severe side effects, all have been rubbish. Of course, all anti-vaccine lobbies have been very active and say they make women infertile, and also say that they should not take during their periods. All this is social media propagation. The biggest challenge we are facing in this country is. Then I request you to mute your mic, Madam Yamuna. The biggest challenge we are facing is, of course, myths like this. And of course, we also have some studies saying that if it enters the adenovector vaccine enters a capillary by mistake, it can lead to. Vaccines, as I said, do not protect against infection. A lot of papers coming out on breakthrough infections. This is ICMR data, and ICMR data tells you both following first dose or second dose, the tune is 0.04%, and same also for mRNA vaccines in America. So I think we'll have to live with breakthrough infections. How long does immunity last? A very beautiful publication in Nature, which tells you that even after normal COVID infections, lymph node follicles are actively generating B cells 6 to 8 weeks after infection and after immunization. And we also know that now that memory cells are induced by all vaccines. That is very good news. Once there are memory cells, even if you get a vaccination subsequently, you will not get serious infections. To summarize then, SARS-CoV-2 is a new pathogen. It's contagious, it can spread quickly. There are only two ways to get immunity, either get infected or get vaccinated. Otherwise, be sure the virus will catch you. COVID variants will continue to emerge. We cannot stop it. The only way is to keep a watch on them through genomic surveillance. Access to vaccines is the greatest obstacle, and we have to continuously educate people that even if vaccines are available and people take vaccines, still 80 to 85% of the people are vaccinated. COVID appropriate behavior has to be followed. There is a growing subset of population that is skeptical. We need to allay their fears and tell them vaccines work. And that UK data, which I showed you, is phenomenal. Even after one dose, it works. All available vaccines currently, irrespective of which country and what brand, protect against serious disease and death. And lastly, I would like to say that, not able to see that. Thank you.